Hi everyone, welcome to Harbor Chill. Really appreciate all the support from the last video. Surprised me a little bit that we got more than 2,000 views, so that's super exciting. And really appreciate all your support and glad to see the channel gradually grow. For this video, we'll talk about Bremen. It's one of the steel wheel ships. So the last video we talked about how to grind out as much steel as possible for the remainder of the steel wheel event. And for this video, I will do a review, a deep dive on one of the three steel wheel ships, which is the Bremen. When I first got the steel wheel event, I thought about which of the three ships would fit me the best. I definitely would choose between Hawaii and Bremen. I'm not a really good like a battleship player, and I'm still trying to figure out how to play a key, so cannot speak too much about it. And I chose Bremen because I was a really big fan for the Tier 8 mains, and I thought Bremen is an upgrade for that. And I played about 100 plus games in Bremen, and it validates my initial hypothesis. Basically, it's a strengthened mains at a tier 10 with a comparable playstyle to the tier 10 tagline ship Hindenburg, but with different traits. So it is stronger with a quicker reload for DPM, especially the AP DPM is an upgrade. If you look at the ship, the maximum AP damage per minute is 800k, whereas for HE is a 350. If you compare that to Hindenburg, HE DPM is 208 and AP is about 500. But it doesn't like fully add up because you can still Citadel with Hindenburg's guns, but you can never Citadel with the 150. It's like a very rare situation you can Citadel that. So compared to Hindenburg, it has its trade-offs. So I'll definitely get into the details, but if you're curious about whether I recommend this ship, I'd say overall it's a yes, but it depends. So the use cases are situational, and I'll get to that. So before we get into the more kind of deep dives, let's have a quick go over of the main specs. So the armor layout, the hull is basically a Clausewitz hull, but with a weakened deck armor. I think Clausewitz is a 50 or 60. I think it's 50. This is 30. So it cannot handle some of the higher caliber HEs as good as Clausewitz. Besides that, the Citadel itself is kind of comparable to Hindenburg, um, but not super tanky. So don't expect this ship to tank as good as a Petrol, but it can probably out DPM Petrol under the wreck circumstance. But in terms of armor, it is not as tanky as some of the other heavier like cruisers. And in terms of the main gun, I think this is the main selling point. 4.7 per second reload at 16 guns, 450 caliber. The armor penetration for the HE is 38, so that actually is meaningful because several of the battleships they don't have deck armor as thick as 38, so you can probably pen good amount of BBs. For example, the American BBs. So let's take a quick look. I think for Montana, let's see if Montana holds. Okay, so that's 38. So you can actually pin Montana's deck armor. I don't think you can pin Vermont. Vermont is a bit thicker. So let's see. Yeah, that's 51. So you cannot pen Vermont, but you can pen Montana, and you should be able to pen British. Yeah, C-32. So you can pen the deck armor for the British battleships as well, and for St. Vincent. Okay, so you cannot pen St. Vincent, but you can pen the forehead part of it. So yeah, so the HE actually can pen a good amount of battleships. You can go over the list and see which we can pen, which it cannot. But 38 is somewhat useful. It it's better than some of the like small caliber guns, like a small lens, where you cannot pen the deck armor at all. So let's get back to the ship. So we were at the artillery, so that's the selling point. Fire range is like 18.1, but the downside is the longer you shoot, the floatier the shell becomes. I think the sweet spot for fighting cruisers is maybe like 11, 1200. Sorry, 11, 12 kilometers. Above that range, you cannot guarantee good landing on the ships. For DD, the range is even shorter. Anything above like 10 kilometers, you can hardly hit, especially Colbert, Marseille. It's very hard to hit those ships beyond 10 kilometers, especially if they're cutting away. Torpedoes are decent. It's a very long reload, but it has good maximum range. The speed is very slow, so it's more of like a zoning torpedo. And AA defense is decent, but not as good as Hawaii. Maneuverability, this is one of the downside. So the ship is actually pretty large. It's almost like as long as a battle cruiser, but it only has a speed of 32.5. What that means is when you chase, when you like a push, the enemy team can probably run away faster than you. It's hard for you to catch, and when you kite away, their cruisers can probably catch you, especially those like light cruisers. And you don't have a very good like firing angle, especially when it's kiting away. You have to show a good size of your broadside to be able to shoot all 16 guns together. And another downside about this is the rudder shift. It's very slow to turn. It's like 11.6 seconds. So the ship is not very maneuver in general. Um, I see some people when they build it, they would use a like a rudder shift module rather than the conceal module. That I think would work better for random, but probably not as good for ranked, because if you're building a lighthouse build for Bremen, people can see you from the Mars. That actually has pretty bad consequences in ranked, because they would have more time to think about how to handle you, probably like flank to your side before they even start firing, right? So I would say lighthouse build probably works better for random, but if you start trading off concealment to either like a rudder shift or firepower, you can get punished in ranked bundles pretty badly. In terms of concealment, it's pretty bad too. 13.1, so it's actually worse than a lot of the uh, battleships. So I'll give you an example. Let's see. I'll use Libertad as example. So Libertad is 13. So your concealment is as bad as a Libertad. So just to sum up all the core specs, if you think about the strength, DPM, and good torpedoes, those are the selling points for the ship. Whereas for weakness, they have plenty of weakness. Pretty much all the weaknesses German cruisers have, the Bremen has that as well. For example, really bad concealment, very slow. I wouldn't say very slow, but like borderline slow, and very bulky, kind of hard to turn. and also not very tanky. So don't let the 56,000 health pool like fool you. If you get like a focus fire, you can die pretty quickly. I'd say in terms of tankiness, maybe comparable to Des Moines, but probably nothing much more than that. And in terms of role and use cases, I'd say for Bremen, it is more of a support and a farming ship. It's a DPM damage dealer as long as you don't get focused on and as long as you have clear sight of enemies. You have to be careful about shooting at like long range because the shell get very floaty and it's very hard for you to land shells on remote distant like enemies. So I can think of a few like good use cases where Bremen can shine. Over long range, it can farm. So use HE to farm like static or slow moving enemy battleships. Say if there is like one battleship hugging an island or gradually move at a quarter speed, right? You can farm them with a decent, especially with the spotter plane, can farm those ships at long distance. Also, if there are like a crossfire angles, you can deal good amount of damage at that as well. At mate range, one of the really good use case is if there's a turning cruiser, a cruiser shooting broadside, you can punish that at I would say 12, 13 kilometers range. So at mid range, AP can do a good job as long as enemy ship doesn't ball in. If it balls in, and that's a different story because your gun cannot really damage like ship from this angle very well. Um, so you kind of have to kind of watch what you can penetrate, what you cannot. So if you shoot ship like this angle, it can bounce off a lot of shells from you. And another use case at mate range is if you hug behind the island, because of the floaty shell, you can actually shoot over the island pretty well. In that sense, you can probably play as a Des Moines or even Hawaii similar type of ship, so you can shoot over island and far enemy ships. And then for another mid-range use case is if you shoot in the smoke or behind the smoke. So once you get to the kind of the battle interface, you will see the concealment for Bremen inside the smoke is about 10 kilometers. So even within smoke, you cannot sit too close to enemy ships. Still need to be maybe like 10 kilometers and above to be able to like shoot while you stay dark. Another use case is to use like your torpedoes to control a zone, especially if the enemy ship doesn't have hydros. You can you can launch 10 torpedoes on each side. It's very slow to reload, but you can create a kind of a cross section of blockage with your torpedoes. They move pretty slow, but also they have fairly good detectability range. Is like 1.2. That's almost as good as a deep water torpedo. I think most of the deep water torpedoes are 0.9. This is 1.2, so it's not bad. And at close range, basically, if you run to like a DU situation, always you should try to catch ship on their broadside and avoid your broadside, so you can stay alive longer. If they have broadside, definitely use AP. If not, you have to use HE, but you don't deal as much damage, like not nearly as much damage using HE compared to AP. And then another use case at close range is to just YOLO with the torpedoes. But then that only works on ships that have pretty bad like a rudder shift, not agile, so your slow torpedo can hit them, like a battleships. But if you try to torp let's say like a Minotaur at close range, there's a chance they can dodge a good amount of those torpedoes. So now we will go over the build. This is a pretty typical build. I think for the second slot, you can probably swap this with a hydro mod. But everything else, I think that's kind of a standard build. And in terms of commanders, this might not be kind of the best way to build it. I built the commander legions for Hindenburg. That's the reason I used the spotter plane enhancement. If you don't use that, you can probably swap it with the demolition expert, so it can give you a better chance to fire to cause fire. The base percentage of fire for the gun is not super good. I think it's decent, but there are occasions where I can have like 4 or 5 rounds of salvos and the enemy ship is still not light up, right? So you can change this to this, but I would say that Eye in the Sky is actually still a useful skill for the ship, especially like when you are playing ranked. This reduces your cooldown time by 50%, so you have actually have more frequent uses against the long-range battleships hugging an island. You can just jump to like a over like a bird view, and it's easier for to shoot like a static target from afar. The other builds, I think they're typical German cruiser builds. I see some people swap the top grade gunner to outnumbers. So if you got outnumber, you can run faster. But I would say either of those would work. I haven't had one commander to try this out yet. I might consider that in the future. And before we get into a game demo, I would like to talk about under what circumstances the ship will work well versus it does not work well. If you recall my recommendation at the very beginning, it's an overall yes, but it depends. So now I will talk about why I mean it depends, when it works and when it does not work. So I can think of 4 really strong use cases where the ship will shine. So the team tactics really matters. So for the ship to work well, the team really have to have strong team spotting, especially when you're pushing. And also the same thing goes when you're kiting as well. If they have an enemy DD that can outspot you, so their cruiser can just get into good position and start farming you. And you cannot tank very well. Their deck armor is like 30, right? So that's definitely better than some of the like a super light cruiser, but you have a really long haul, and a lot of the heavier guns, say like 2 or 3 and above, can like overmatch your deck armor easily, right? So for the ship to work well, one one thing that's really necessary is a strong team spotting, and um, the second one is it shines when there are other ships that absorbs the damage, or if you're hiding behind the island so they don't have a clear sight of shooting you. Say if you have another ship like a Libertad pushing on the same flag, that can tank a good amount of damage, and you are just follow the Libertad and deal a lot of damage without like getting fired at, that really shines. So once you get into like 10, 11, 12 kilometer range, this like 16 150 guns can really melt enemy down pretty quickly. But I mean, if they start focus fire on you, you're gonna die very quickly, right? So if there's a tanky battleship like Sibir or the Libertad that can absorb the fire for you, that really helps. The third use case is if you have a partner cruiser who has a radar that can lock down a cab, and then you just farm the DD inside, that really dominates. But it won't work very well if the DD start running away. Once it's beyond like 10 kilometer range, it's hard for you to land shells on it. The last team tactic that will work with the Bremen is if you form a crossfire angle at mid-range that combined with other ships firing from other angles, then can really pin down an enemy ship very quickly. And in terms of when it doesn't work, there are actually several cases where Bremen can die very easily, very quickly, and that's where a lot of time you take the blame, but it's really not necessarily your fault. It's really a bad team tactics that like make you almost useless in competitive mode. The first one is if your team lost vision control, say like if your DD get killed by their DD, either eating like a torpedo or get radared and killed in the first 5 minutes of the game, then your flag pretty much gonna collapse. So your ship has like a consument as bad as a battleship, and the DD has a like 6-7 kilometers of spotting range where they can see you, but you cannot see them, that really just basically leave you in the darkness, and that really sucks because your ship is bulky. For you to like dodge shells from their like pushing cruisers or battleships is very hard. There are many occasions I try to cut away, but their DD just keep lighting me up, and their cruisers shooting behind the island or find an angle to shoot me from broadside, like try to flank me. That really those things really sucks, right? So if your team lost the vision, Bremen gonna really struggle, and if they outflank you, then you're gonna struggle as well. Another um, situation where it won't work very well is if you ball in tanking another heavy cruiser. Say like if both you and um, Des Moines, like both are ball in and start shooting at each other, there's a better chance Des Moines gonna kill you than vice versa, because your main gun. If you look at your armor, your main gun's protection is actually very weak, right? So like even the front armor, that's like 30 mil. So Des Moines can pretty much taking out your two main guns before you can take out theirs. I mean, you can take out Des Moines' guns, but you're gonna take a good amount of shells for you to take out the Des Moines guns. And once your two front guns are taken out, you really have to turn at a almost like a half broadside angle for your back guns to be able to shoot. So that's the situation where you really got doomed. And one last case where Bremen will not work very well is if they have ships that's like faster ships that's cutting away, because if you're in a pushing position, your shell arc is so floaty that's very hard for you to land a faster maneuvering ships when they are running away. So that is another place where Bremen will not work very well. So this is a high level just impression for my take on Bremen. Overall, I think it's a good ship. It can work very well under the right team setup, but it will face some challenges if the team is not set up in the correct way, or some key elements of the tactics fall apart. Say like the flank collapse, or if your DD died and you lose the vision control. And the next part of the video, I will show a gameplay in gold ranked battle, just to show you when it works, what are the general tactics. We'll put the theories into practice. So this is one of the game I played in ranked battles. I played about 100 plus games in Bremen. This is one of the tighter ones, so the game was towards the end determined on very fine margin. So make sure you stay towards the end. So we have Libertad, Mechlin, G9, Grozvoy, Dieren. They have Aki, Ohio, Kushro, Moskva, Alvaro, and Summers. So I'm heading towards C, but the Grozvoid is not there yet. So I had to kind of stop over there, because once I go beyond that, I can easily get spotted and focus fired. So Libertad is pushing through the middle, and this is always a tricky spot for Libertad, because middle might be a good position for BB, but also you can get fires from both angles, so have to be careful. Now I'm trying to farm the Moskva from afar. This is one of the use cases, as I mentioned. Basically, farming at slow moving ships from distance. So try to light a fire on it. So I switch to HE. Okay, here we got a fire. And also I'm trying to watch other ships. So Jinan and the Deer, and they got light up. That's probably from Moscow. And Libertad got light up as well. One risk for, you see Libertad pretty much just pushed through the middle and got light up twice. So here we go. That's the torps I was thinking about. Because if you just charging through a straight line in the middle, I mean the enemy DDs, especially in gold rank, they would probably torp the middle, and there's a chance for you to cut some of those torpedoes. So I'm light up. Alvaro is trying to back into the cap. I try to shoot it, but Alvaro probably gonna get out of the cap before my shells land there. Shells are pretty slow, and you see from the mini map that Kushro is flanking. That's actually something that's really dangerous. So you have like Ohio and the Crucial that can crossfire me. So I need to be very careful, like where position I'm going, and if I like push over the island, I can get crossfire there. So that's the reason I'm trying to like ball in a little bit and don't show my broadside too much. And now Ohio probably has beached on that island, so you cannot torp it. But here is another use case for my ship is to turn on the spotter plane, and you can fire over the island and land shells on Ohio there. And also I'm trying to fence off Kushro so it won't have a very easy flank before we have the time to deal with ships in the middle. Well, so Libertad died, probably because of torps from Alvaro, and that's the thing. Like, the moment he stayed too long in the middle, that's where it got exposed, and it's tricky. It doesn't really have many places to go. You see, the Libertad pretty much got caught in between the two islands there, and it's almost like a kind of a target from torps, right? So now I'm trying to kite away from Kushiro, and you see, I can see fires coming out of the smoke trying to hit me. So I'm trying to make a turn, and Aki's shell just landed right next to my ship. So those turns are probably very in time, and I'm trying to get back to the game. Okay, nice. My Jinan sunk this Moskva on the far side of the game, of the battleground, and I'm trying to get back, making this turn. You see that ship is turning super slow. I see those torps on the horizon, so that's what I'm assuming. Once you see one of them, you definitely need to turn on hydro, because they're probably a line of torpedoes coming your way.
Spotter returning to ship.
Nice. So more Jinan torps hitting key over there. Now I'm trying to farm Ohio and key from afar. This is, if you recall, the first section of the video. That's a typical use case over there. And now I'm switching fires to Aki. Aki moves really slowly. I have first-hand bad experience on that. So I can farm, in this case, using Bremen to farm it. There are a few games I play Aki and I got farmed down like this. I feel pretty hopeless. And you see the Bremen shells over like 18 kilometers. That's like super floaty, so you have to plan the lead time very well. And now we queue a key, so we, for the first time, have more ships than them. You might feel, yeah, it should be a straightforward game from there, but actually no. Deering is in the cap, but then you smoke towards B and C, then you know there will be ships coming from this the smoke. Trying to shoot the DD and Ohio. Oh wow! So Alvaro killed the Darien, so that we're even. And I'm trying to use AP to shoot the broadside of Ohio. Caused some damage. It was like 64% health, and we're getting it down to 40, 47, 40, 48. So 13% of damage, like 10k damage from there. I'm trying to push into the cap, but my hydro is running out. And that really created a hesitation for me, because once my hydro is out, you see Summer is in the cat, and also Kushro is pushing from my broadside. So if I keep pushing, more than likely I'm gonna run into torps. That's the reason I had to stop there and try to back off, try to dodge some of the torps. I think Summers or Kushro has torped at me. And okay, my Jinan killed Avaro there. That's really nice. And I'm trying to shoot Crucial. But you see the torps are heading towards Jinan. Jinan's trying to shoot Summers in the meantime and also let Summers light for me. But now Jinan is dead, and right before I can shoot Summers, so Summers stay dark again, and I don't have Hydro. This is a tricky spot, and the Crucible is pushing forward. That's really a bad move, because you will be light up by Kushro, and there's no place for it to go. So, and then you see Kusho's torps. If I moved forward, I probably have already eaten some of those torps. And now Crucible is like having a desperate fight and get killed by Kushiro. Now we're 2 versus 3. Although we have more health, we are really blind, and the battle right now can still go either way. So Kushiro is lighting me up with the fighters, and I kill the fighters. Ohio is in the cap, while Mecklenburg is pushing into it. So now there's a duel for Ohio and Mecklen, but I have to look at the other direction because I don't know if Kushu gonna come behind the island and start shooting my broadside. So I had to be very alert on that front. Now I got hydroed up, so probably means Kushu is within like 5 kilometers from me. Now it's nice. So Ohio got killed, Mecklenburg torped him, and now we're even again. And once I have Hydro ready, when you see a Crucial cutting away, always try to turn on the Hydro because Crucial has really strong torps. And also, once I light up the Hydro, I know Summer's in the cap, and then that allows my Mecklenburg to kill it. But you can see how slow I turn. So although I had a long radius of turning 82 torps from Crucial, I used to have a full health, and now I'm even with the Crucial. So I'm trying to shoot Crucial with my guns, and so we're both at 30%. But I get a second fire. Wow, that's probably the end of it. And trying to deal as much damage to Crucial as I can. It's getting very close to be killed, but I'm dying as well. It was 13%, and that's probably another. Oh gosh, so I'm dead. I think I probably get Crucial down to maybe 5 to 10%. You would imagine, okay, so we have more health than Crucial, we can definitely win this, right? But not necessarily. Mecklenburg doesn't have Hydro, and if it got like broadside torps from Crucial can delete it from like a one set of one launch of like a double torpedoes on one side, and Crucial can launch torpedoes really quickly. So if you look, that's like 76 seconds of torpedoes. Now Mecklenburg is really facing a tough choice. Either way, whichever way he goes, if Crucial go from the other way, Crucial can get into cap A and B, and that really complicates the situation there. Well, same goes with the Crucial. And the game can really go either way. As I was saying, it depends on if Mecklenburg eats the torp or not. And you see Mecklenburg is charging a straight line here, and it got detected. That is really a bad sign if you keep charging straight line while you are detected, especially against the Crucial, because Crucial will definitely torp you, right? And you will soon see this is where the game gets down to the wires. Now, okay, so Crucial healed back up to 21%. So Mecklen was trying to kill it, and you see he gonna definitely eat those torps. So wow, okay, so we killed the Crucial right before Crucial's torps. Killed Mecklenburg. This is like how close the game turned out to be towards the end. It was like a win on the matter of seconds. So that's what I was trying to say. Once you feel you're detected, definitely should not charge straight line, as you always know the crucial gonna torp you, right? So now we won this very close game. Kind of lucky towards the end, because if we were just like 1 second slower, we would have already lost the game. So I was the third in this game. There are definitely other games that I did better. I got the top rank versus this, but this is a example where first of all I think it's like a super close game, and also it shows some of the good use cases where Bremen can really shine, right? So we dealt 100 133,000 damage. 65k of that is on Ohio. So remote farming Ohio really did pretty well. 25k of fire. Same thing with Moscow. There was like early fire on that, and also try to farm our key. The duel with the Kushru could really have gone one way or the other. If you recall the use case I was referring to, like trying to duel other cruisers at the mid range. It was a winning game until I eat those two torps, right? You saw the ship is very slow to turn, so that's always something you should watch out. Um, and then some damage on Summers and Alvaro. So for spotting damage, I have 6k on the Summers. If you recall, that's towards the end. I know Summers is sitting in a cap when Mecklenburg is pushing towards him. So once I light up the Hydro, Mecklenburg killed Summers very easily. So that's another use case. Behind the island, you can use a Hydro, 6 km Hydro, that can do a pretty good job. So overall, that is the game. In the next couple of videos, I might show some other games from Bremen, so you have a better sense when it shines. What are some of the use cases? So we'll show a few more games so you can see repeated patterns there. But this is already a long video. I'll have a full deep dive and now a game, so plenty of content there. I will stop here. Thank you very much. If you like the video, drop a like and subscribe. And if you have any comments, please let me know so I can improve in the next video. Thank you very much. Have a great rest of the day. Bye bye.